Hello everyone, I'm back for writing. So let's just get straight into it. This part will not be in the OC test, so this is just for selective tests, but it is very important skills for all of high school as well. Okay, so writing. What is expected of the students in the writing component? So I've taken this straight from the department. This test assesses the creativity of the students' ideas and their ability to write effectively for a purpose and audience. The test will also assess grammar, punctuation, spelling, and vocabulary. The students' writing must address the given topic, otherwise it will be marked lower, regardless of their fluency or creativity. So I've just highlighted and bolded the important parts in this. Creativity, purpose, and audience must address a given topic, and I'll expand more on this later. So how it's marked is there's 25 marks allocated towards it. 15 marks of that is given to content, form, organization, and style. This is stuff like the structure and like what exactly you're talking about. And then the second part is sentences, punctuation, and spelling for 10 marks, which is, yeah, how grammatically correct are you? Are you spelling your words right? Are you showing complex range of sentences? Yeah, and I'll get more into this a bit later. So the Band 6 requirement for content, form, organization, and style. So this is described by the Cambridge Assessment Admission Testing, which is the marking guidelines used for the writing. So this is exactly how they'll mark it. It's described as a distinctive and original response. So what this means is I've taken these quotations directly from the marking guidelines as well. Content is thoughtfully and confidently chosen with inventive and imaginative details. So this means that students need to be writing, yeah, creatively, originally. They don't want to be using cliches. They want to be setting themselves different to everyone else. And what it means by content is thoughtfully and confidently chosen is that students need to be like judiciously choosing what they're writing about. You know, they have to be writing to the stimulus at all times. Otherwise, they're not going to get that band 6 marks. They need to be hitting the stimulus in all parts of the question. So number 2, material is skillfully adapted in an appropriate form with ideas deliberately structured. So while you may have your content, it's important to how you display that content within your writing. So what it means by skillfully adapted in an appropriate form is that the writing test has like a vast range of different forms that they can ask you to write in. They can ask you to write in like a newspaper report form. They can ask you to write in an email form, like I'll show you later. They can ask you to write an advice sheet. So it's important that students are adapting how they're writing and their structure and like their use of titles and stuff directly to the form that it's asking you for. So the next thing I want to talk about is that 3, ambitious and well-chosen vocabulary and stylistic features are consciously used. So students need to be, their wide reading will really help with this, but using like a wide range of ambitious and hard words to show their sophistication with their writing, and using stylistic features like similes, metaphors, but also more specific ones, like maybe like dot points for like an advice list, or like subtitles for a newspaper report, because we need to show like the stylistic features specifically dependent on the form. So yeah, this kind of ties into number 2 as well. And the fourth thing that it says is a short shifts between different levels of formality. So I think this really encompasses what type of tone, what type of modality, and what type of register we want to be writing with. And this all ties into who is our audience. So this is something that we need to be thinking about when we're writing. Well, we're looking at the question, and then we're trying to think about who are we writing to, and how should I be presenting myself to them. So yeah, we'll see examples of this later, but it's whether we want to be persuasive or conversational, whether we want to be high modality or low modality, or whether we want to be like encouraging, or yeah, just depends on our form. Let's go into the next one. Band 6 requirements for sentences, punctuation, and spelling. So this one's a bit more simple. The first one is well-judged range of sentence lengths, types, and structures to create impact. So yeah, we'll go. Brainbuds has a lot of resources on this. I won't really get into how to construct like complex sentences with different clauses and stuff like that. But yeah, students need to be displaying their sophistication with writing, not just writing simple sentences, but writing complex ones with like a range. Number 2, a range of punctuation is used very securely for deliberate effect. So Securely means that we don't want to be making silly punctuation errors because that's going to take away easy marks. But we also want to be using our punctuation deliberately. So by this, I mean using exclamation marks in appropriate times, using ellipses to build suspense, and to create dramatic effect, using colon and listing when it's necessary. All of these things will tie in together for a range of punctuation is used very securely for deliberate effect. And number three, spelling of almost all words is accurate. And this is just simple. Students should be pushing their vocabulary before the test to try and learn as much as they can. But in the test, students should stick to what they know because as little as 3 spelling mistakes could mean that you lose 1 or even more marks in this section. So students should stick to what they know during the test. Now I'm just going to go through an example of how I would approach some questions, having all of these things in mind and showing some tips on how to approach it. Okay, yeah. What exactly does this look like? So this is taken from the 2023 selective writing test. And I'm just going to read it out and highlight things that I think are important as we go through. So it's called A New Superhero. A movie company, so there's our audience. A movie company is holding a competition. That's our context to win $1,000. To enter, you have to send an email. That's our form to the company, given original ideas for a new superhero character, for a blockbuster movie, graphic novel, or book. And we know that we need to address one of these. In your email, you could, and then it gives us 3 suggestions on what we could write about. Describe what the character looks like, explain how they use their superpowers, say why this character would be popular. Okay, so as I've circled earlier, we've already found our form, email, our audience, a movie company, and why we're writing. It's a competition. So this should form how our tone and how our register should be. So it's a competition, so we need to be persuasive. We need to be high modality, but because this is to an official movie company, it still needs to be professional. So this means that we want a professional and exciting tone that like really sells that idea. That's exciting, but we don't want it to veer to the really personal side. Because it's an email, the important things that we need to know for an email, we need to be having short paragraphs. It has to be very well structured because has to be like easy to read. We need to have our introducing sentence like to whomever this may concern. And we also need our concluding sentence like kindness regards and then your name. So those are the form specific things that we might need. And then what I would always recommend to students is taking that few extra minutes at the start of the test to really narrow down what they're going to talk about. Otherwise, students can go in spirals and they can really branch out away from the stimulus, which is, again, no marks is going to be awarded for writing that's stuff on not related to the question. So that's why I've circled could here, because when it gives suggestions, I strongly recommend that students use the suggestions. So here, describe what the character looks like. We already have our possible first body paragraph. We just talk about what they look like and we display that range of different sentences and lots of different vocabulary in that sentence. 2, explain how they use their powers. That could just be our third paragraph and say why this character will be popular. That's our third. And we need to remember we have our introduction at the start, and then we have our conclusion at the end to show that structure. Is there anything else important in this one? No, let's move on to the next bit. Okay. So for to this question, I had one of my students write his response to this, and this is just the start of his response. So I'm just gonna walk you through how I'm marking it, what are the good things first, and then later I'll talk about what are the things that he needs to improve. And these are really common mistakes that is very easy to fix, but can be very costly with the marks. So let's just start to go through this. So he has a title, which is good, because we need to show that structure for the 15 marks. Dear directors of Hollywood, he's shown his use of the form immediately. I've written this email to give you a preview of my superhero concept for the competition. His name is the Dark Angel, and he's going to be the best hero you'll ever see. So I like the way that he's using high modality language to really sell his idea. A quick note for you all, the Dark Angel is 100% unique and cannot be called a ripoff. He is slightly taller than a regular person, and his color scheme matches his name. On one side, his body is all gray and gloomy with scarlet claws, but on the other side, he's all light and shiny with blue claws the color of the sky. Some of the features he has are midnight wings protruding from his back and a ruby and a sapphire halo above his head. Still, that is not the coolest part yet. The Dark Angel has a transformation mode where he gains 6 enormous rings with a black hole spinning into the center of his halo. His character uses his powers based on his mood. If he is furious or irritated, let's just say that some buildings could be destroyed. But when he is joyful and positive, he will save people. The Dark Angel is not really a superhero. He's more of an anti-hero. This is actually a good thing, as it is more unique and the viewers will be interested because normally movies are all about superheroes. Okay, so the things that are good, really good here is we see direct engagement with the question and the stimulus. So this is really important because the markers don't want superficial or like an implicit like writing towards the stimulus. They want you to be very direct with how you're answering the question. So we see competition, like it asks, and he keeps on reiterating about why it is going to be unique. So we see unique here, and we see unique here. So he's really selling the idea and showing why it's original, just like the question asks. Yeah, I think that his ideas are really creative, and that's really important for the content. And he has some nice complex sentences, and high modality, like I said earlier, and a good range of vocabulary. However, some things that I pointed out to him. Here we go. Yeah. So first thing is on the structure. So structure is really important. 15 marks for the structure, organization, and form. So we see here his first paragraph is very long, and this is a bit veering on too long for an email. And the most important part though is that each paragraph should be exploring distinct ideas and themes. So he has the introduction to a superhero in the first half, but in the bottom half, it's more describing what the character looks like we're saying would be one of the paragraphs. So what I recommended to him is that he split this paragraph into two. So if he got two different ideas, he's got his introduction, selling the idea, then he has what the character looks like and describing it. And on top of that, all paragraphs, while they're distinct, there needs to be a link between them. So this is something that the department really stresses as quite important in all of the marking like guidelines and things. They always talk about this, that the structures need to, the paragraphs need to flow. So this is something as simple as the Dark Angel like does not the Dark Angel does not just sound cool. He's like, yeah, he looks cool. Or that's a very bad example, but just something that will flow the ideas together into a cohesive piece of writing. That's what's important. So splitting it up, showing structure, and showing the flow between it. And the second thing that I pointed out was punctuation. So we see here, he's used contractions, which are not always bad. They can be used in writing, depending on our audience and our form and yeah, why we're writing. But in this case, it's a competition to a movie company. So we want to be displaying that very formal, very formal language, which is why I recommended to him to remove the contraction. So you will, and yeah, we want to get rid of the contractions because they can undermine the formality of our writing. So this is under the dot point for the punctuation. Yeah, and those with just those easy two fixes, I could see his mark going up like 1 or 2 just from that. So there's yeah, just some things that students can keep in mind. And of course, there's a wide range of other things that can be added in and can be improved, but these were just some really simple fixes that I think students can learn a lot from. Yeah, and that wraps up the writing session. I'd like to open it up for any questions for any of the 4 parts from any parents or students.
If you could just send your questions in the chat, we'll try and respond to them. Apologies for this.
Yeah, I think yes, due to the time, thank you very much, Aaron and Jasmine, for your sharing of these learning tips and very useful like test strategy preparation strategies. I think many of these valuable advice we will take time to really like digest and also to apply in the following months before the tests. Thank you very much. And for any of the questions, feel free to pop in the chat box here now, or you can contact us by this social media with the scanning of the QR code here. And for last page, we have the email. So feel free to reach out with any questions, and we are very happy to provide any help and answer. Yes, thank you, everyone.